dollars. He's not gonna tell me that they passed a new law in January. I had to look this shit up by myself. Basically,
look, they illegally holding Famous Richard because of what he did to the J community.
I'm studying my own case. I gotta find holes in my case. They had illegal search warrants. They didn't have a search warrant to go on my car. But they did enough fuckery in my case.
See, they got him in the feds.
I just need to raise enough money to get a paid lawyer, bro.
They got him in the feds opposed to have him in the state. So the feds illegally got him seized. The gun laws, right? The gun laws in America isn't too much, explained to the T. Because if you have the right to bear arms, if they catch you with an unregistered firearm, why do you have to do jail time and so much? You see, and it's due to criminal activity. So that's the stance between police in the city and state, and once again versus the federal police, the federal agents that I keep talking about. You heard what he just said, right? He said they're illegally holding me. They didn't find a gun on me. And they're doing this because of the small hat community and the prank that I did. So this is the stuff that they look for on YouTube and social media. His pranking was to the capacity of people's emotion and feelings because of the stuff he was doing. Everybody caught a big, they caught a laugh, so to say, at what's his name, Jonathan Gabbana, or Bunk Gang or whatever, because Bunk Gang was doing outrageous stuff. He caught everybody's attention, and this was some time ago before he calmed down and humbled himself and went through what he went through. Now, him just being on camera, and I'm talking about Bunk Gang, him just being on camera and everybody being full aware of what he's doing. He's about to be a prankster, and for society to come down on Jonathan as hard as they came down on Jonathan is unfair, because he enjoyed his life before the United States of America was shut down. You see how serious everything is now, right? Because we shut down after the pandemic, and honestly, we're never going to open up the way we want to open up. But he enjoyed his prankism to capacity, and people despise him for it, but he was just a young kid enjoying his life. And this was years ago. This is when YouTube had, the content that they swept off in 2016. This is when YouTube had that type of stuff on it, where you can see extra, questions that you have, and the unknown that you think you wanna be answered. You can find it on YouTube, like exotic questions that come to your head. That was on YouTube, so that's what I found on YouTube a long time ago. But dude got a bad negative black cloud. He got a bad karma, and I'm talking about Jonathan Gabbana, the Bunk Gang dude. And ever since then, he's been trying to, straighten his life up and stuff like that. But people is just not gonna give him a fair shake because of his image. He's tattered from head to toe, and that's just it. They let other gang members and stuff from other countries, such as the Venezuelans and stuff like that, they come tatted head to toe. And it's not viewed the same when a little black kid or a little native kid from America does it. It's shamed upon. But when somebody from the Aztecs or Venezuela does it, it's considered, indigenous or whatever, and it's accepted in a way. And you see the divide in culture because it's racism in a sense. So therefore, you're not going to be able to be around that immigrant that has the tattoos from head to toe, like Jonathan Gabbana, but you can get close to Bunk Gang. Now, he did some stuff where me personally, I'm a person that knew I had to work. If I was on the job, I either was going to quit the job or I was going to have to, put hands on Jonathan Gabbana. Not necessarily for the sake of the store, not necessarily for the sake of the franchise or whatever, and the safety of the public. It was just be for me to get my, to get my distance. Now, if he pranks somebody or somebody else pranks somebody near me and it's not next to me where it could be in my physical, touchings, then I'll just leave it alone or whatever. That's not how I am. But some of this stuff, if I was on the job, especially back then, it was more serious. You know, it was real serious. Before we thought about COVID, you really had to be, prep and prompt on your job, despite what position. If it was a cashier, or if it was a DP or a DSP position, or habilitation assistant, or a manager or supervisor, it doesn't matter. Now that things closed down, is when they closed everything down, is putting robots, machines, and computers behind the workers that left. So we give it to, Jonathan Gabbana. He won that. So instead of having a pizza store and he used to go steal boxes of pizza and run out, it was funny. Now you can have a robotic store that serves pizza, not a vending machine, but a store with no people in it. And now there's no complaints or anything to a person. You have to complain to the robot, and the franchise that owns the name, such as Domino's, Papa John's, or whatever, they have to handle that issue immediately. Okay, so this is leverage. Seeing stuff on these type of platforms as YouTube is leverage because it goes with federal guidelines. Like I said, I haven't called the IRS yet because I just found out I didn't claim my stocks, and that's probably another reason why they're taking my check. My checks every month, being that, a part-time worker, year, is not claiming the stock. Now, is that fair to me? No, I should be entitled to it. However, they not taking my stock. And if you do claim your stock on taxes, these grimy state IRS people, they'll just make up a penalty just because you have other paperwork with the stock not claimed, despite amending it, right? If I amend it, they can still go back and try to penalize your paperwork if they remember you. This is how grimy the IRS is. We don't need the IRS state at all. So people like me, I'm frustrated every day, is because I understand the system more than the average person, the average worker, and I can't get advantage on that side the way I want. And I'm a better worker at every position than the average hierarchy is. So look at the frustration that way. All you're doing is looking at me and judging me on how I look. You've never put an assignment in front of me and let me do it or let me fail. Period, point blank. Now this is where I escort Richard, famous Richard right into the situation. Now his pranks was over bunk gangs. Way over. He was pointing in the officers' faces and reaching for their gun. Now he's from Chicago, calling people in New York sweet. So there's a different type of racism here where it's a lot of light-skinned police officers and it's a lot of brainwashed black ones. So whether you like it or not, the people on the streets, they're either brainwashed and black or they're light-skinned. Just like the police officers in New York. So if you're not from New York, right, and this person knew this police officer, grew up with the police officer and all, and we got new people from new states coming to this state doing whatever, of course, through time, as time goes on, people's feelings and behavior start to change. They start to get used to you. They start to clock you. They start to see if you're hungry and stuff like that. So they take advantage because you're not home. And then they start turning on you like a horror movie. And the police is completely involved. And the federal government speaks against this zombie, animalistic human behavior. That's why federal is a custody. And that's why Famous Richard is in the feds. Because they actually saving him. They know that he is from Chicago and his ID says he's from Chicago. So therefore, anything that traces back to Famous Richard, he has to go home and get extradited regardless. And when they hold him, and if they do hold him for too long of a time or whatever, you start to get a lawsuit. So Puff Daddy knows this already. It's not going to take Puff Daddy 5 or 10 years to try to conjure a lawsuit. You could try to conjure a lawsuit as you're being charged or if you're in jail. They give you the right to the paperwork. They give you, the COs actually, print stuff out for you. Like I have COs print stuff out for me, like papers, and give it to me. All you got to do is give them the website. Or all you got to do is give them a phone number and they'll do it for you. Or show them right there at night. You waving at night or where they're trying to wave them down as they're doing the count. Some of them are nice enough to pull out their phone with the internet. You can go to the government websites and be like, yo, this form right here, can you print it out for me? It's that easy. Certain people got video games in their cells. It's a whole bunch of rules to a jail, and it's some accommodations that they don't give out to everybody, but it is there or whatever. And the federal government is saying, since you are the city and state, you have these accommodations. Let everybody have these accommodations fairly, and let's see what happens. So it's a lose-lose situation. You give everybody an accommodation in jail, and they could go play the video game as they're facing 7 to 10 years. A whole bunch of people is going to try to go to jail and just chill and play the video game for the next 10 years. If you give everybody and share that accommodation with everybody. Certain people is not smart enough for the paperwork and, to start suing. So that's the gamble. Just like certain people aren't smart enough for the paperwork, for the taxes to open up their own business, either using a social security number or an EIN number, or getting an LLC or other type of license. So they're illegally holding Famous Richard because he's federal property. How is Famous Richard federal property now? He's federal property being in different guidelines in different ways. You have a positive and you have a negative. A positive way of looking at federal property, people that are federal property are bachelors and up. People that graduate with bachelors and up. Federal sworn in employees. Federal sworn in employees. Now we're still obligated subjected to arrest and just to be disciplined like anybody else. However, when it goes to the court systems, there is a different type of judging due to education, and it's innocent and it's organic. Okay, so it's a bachelor's and up. So if you have a bachelor's and you're in debt, or if you're not in debt, you are considered federal property. Then there's a negative way where you can be considered federal property by being an inmate. And there's different types of inmates. Okay? Or if you've been a criminal through the city and state, just like Famous Richard has been, and now it's been bumped up to the federal. Now they give you a chance to snitch and come home. They could give you a different gun to kill somebody if you've been getting kidnapped, or if you're in a gang and somebody's making you perform these bad behaviors, which falls under molestation. Molestation isn't just sex. Molestation is violence. The violence is what makes molestation, because anything else is sexual assault. It's the way you are showing, and it's the degree of violence you are showing to somebody. That's molestation. The person doesn't have to be physically penetrated to be physically, sexually assaulted. Sexual assault is squeezing somebody's privacy, kissing somebody in the lips. You feel me? It's not necessarily rape, because rape is rape. When you penetrate the person, that's called rape. And then there's other degrees of sexual assault. What about if somebody bites your penis? Or what about if somebody take their nails and squeeze a little kid's nutsack? A grown man or a grown woman. You see the degree of sexual assault? So for everybody that wants to say, well, he didn't get raped, there was no penetration, and now I have to show you degrees of sexual assault, and we have these awful things called parents in the United States of America, I'm going to just come back to the place where I was sexually assaulted, and I'm going to just close your curtain, because I'm federal property. There's nobody's subconsciously, nobody in my subconscious is greater than me. I'm a part of the federal government. You niggas is just a project. I understood that as a little kid. and it's plain and clear as day in my face and in my eyes. Clear as day. So once you subconscious somebody that's away from you, that's a gamble. Just like not opening a business and claiming the 1099s and the 1040Xs on the amend. It's a gamble. It costs nothing to get an EIN. All you got to do is just fill the paperwork the right way. You're a business. You can sell your labor. You don't have to sell products. So if they asking you if you sold anything, no, you don't have to put that. And if they keep asking you about that, that means that I'm correct. The IRS on this state ain't shit. They know something and they're just going to keep harassing you. But they haven't arrested you. That's how much of an asshole the IRS in this state is. They're that fucked up. They're that annoying. The state is here to catch the federal government's mistake. The federal government lies to us by greasing us and seizing us all as opportunity. So we are legally obligated to spend whatever we make, have a business, and claim everything on taxes. When the federal government made that and told us that and we loved it, they made the state IRS to say, no, fuck that. We go back on it, charge a tariff to everybody that's a business owner or not, working or not, and we'll just get our money that way and just give them pennies. So there was $4.7 trillion that was just found on the side that America needs to give to us. 4.7 trillion. This is all of our taxes that's being taken away as we work 9 to 5s or have businesses, whether it's little petty businesses or it's big corporations. Businesses that fail and come back, and you don't claim for years, and then you make some sales years later and claim it that year. When you do stuff like that and get back on the board and probably land a big check, when you start showing the IRS that, all they become is paperwork, and that's it. Sometimes not paperwork. Definitely they're not calling you to ask you where the money is, because it's a tariff, a penalty, or a fee. And our Trump tight initiated more tariffs. You see where this is going? So I know as a person that we're legally getting treated wrong. You might look at me as a psycho or a madman, but I'm upset that I can make you way more money. And instead of you looking at me as a psycho or a madman, you could be looking at me as a lovely person that I want to show. However, we have this thing that we're all going through. It's like an interval. It's called race. And we just fucked up. We don't know why we here, when we gonna leave, and what the fuck the purpose was. All I know is I can help you if everything was corrected. And we got other countries that feel for us because their immigrants come over here thinking it's something when it's really not what it was. And then voila, they're caught in a race just like the natives. And it's a bunch of shit. So Famous Richard is getting held illegally, which is true. Is he gonna get out? Probably. All his famous friends turned on him? Yes. I might be his cousin. I reached out to him. He's still out here wilding. I told him to take my advice, okay? He didn't take my advice. This is what happens. It was good that he got caught with it because he had got shot in the head right before. And if you go from New York to New Jersey, all they do is just set you up. It doesn't matter where you go or where you're from. You can be in Virginia, North Carolina. New Jersey is just going to set you up with whoever wants to kill you. That's what New Jersey is known for. New Jersey people, for some reason, they go into like Facebook and shit like that. This is what happens. They go into Facebook and they like see who's your friend, and they probably ask a friend of a friend about you. This is what happens. And then they see if they can set you up or something. Dead ass, based on somebody's response. So this is the type of things that happen. And I'm older than Famous Richard. And they shot him at his, they grazed him in the head. You see how the feds was magically there to arrest him? and save his life? You see how the feds is like Men in Black sometimes? Or they come off like really like bizarre, awkward, and strange? Mind you, he got shot in the head. He got grazed in the head. You got people like Hassan Campbell talking about he survived the arm shot. But Famous Richard got shot in the head just a couple weeks ago. Don't y'all catch that? This is federal. Because he walking around with a gun. And he doing brazen shit. He's not stealing pizza and running like Bunk Gang. He's reaching for police officer guns and sticking his finger in their face on some, conquistador shit. He was like a pirate with a gun. Imagine Popeye with a gun. Popeye never had a gun. He had 2 big ass forearms. If they were symbolically talking about guns, then okay, I get it now. Trying to give Famous Richard 10 years. They're going to start nailing people. Nailing you. Bro is stuck. The people, the construction people, you know what they doing? They're pouring plasters. You see how the earth, I don't know, and I don't care where you at. You see how the ground is cracked a lot? Like more than ever? Don't you see that the ground is like uneven everywhere you go? They got people pouring plaster in the cracks. So the ground is getting cracked naturally, right? And now these people are pouring plaster in the cracks of the earth. Plaster. That's just something else, though.
K-Flock is in the next unit. K-Flock's over there. I'm trying to get to the same. I just seen him 2 days ago. I'm trying to get to the same unit as him. We're going to video call you. We're going to go live.
So he's in front of K-Flock. Should K-Flock be in jail? That's the discrepancy. This is why I made this video. K-Flock is from New York. K-Flock got ran down, right? He got ran down. And the person that ran down on him had a gun. So what is this right to bear arms thing? Are you trying to produce a purge? Because Trump said it himself. We want a purge. That's what Trump said. He said if it takes for a 24-hour purge to do it, then that's what they should do. Then that's what he would do. He said that when Biden was president. When he thought he was going to lose to Kamala. He might, in fact, indeed had lost to Kamala Harris. They said it on the news. That the computers scored Trump the winner. And he's with Elon Musk. Y'all not paying attention. You're not paying attention to the tariffs that's added. You're not paying attention to 68 cents is $1 now. The dollar doesn't mean anything. You feel me? So this is the discrepancy. This is the lie. Because there's a third angle to this K-Flock and Famous Richard situation that I want to talk about, the right to bear arms. What about when an immigrant comes to this state or goes anywhere? A person from out of Africa, the Caribbeans, from India, from anywhere. What about if they come to the United States and get their hands on a gun? All they do is get what? Deported. So you locking up our kind, right? You're letting our kind shoot each other and locking us up. Taking their life completely away from them. I know they get exonerated afterwards. Like if they do a big stretch of jail time or prison time, they'll get the felony taken off and they could be in the work field that's exonerated, but they still have an alarm or a buzzer on you, kind of sort of on your record. I know that. However, if the immigrant from the Caribbean or if the immigrant from India or Kazakhstan or Europe or anywhere else, when they come to America and they take somebody else's child or take somebody else's father or take somebody, they just get deported. So what are you teaching on the right to bear arms? Are you teaching that other people could just come in here and just intrude and kill us because this is a stolen land? Because you hurting us that's already in here. If people have to walk around with a firearm, that's something already. But once you get caught with it and there's big kind of, there's a big discipline towards it, what are you saying when an immigrant comes here, gets his hands on a firearm, and he uses it, and you just deport him? You see how the message to the native, it blinds us, the color white. It also makes us like, yeah, you're right. Like, what the fuck? It gives us off the color white. You see what I'm saying? It's like a white blinded situation. But I just explained it to you. That's exactly what I'm explaining to you. They're teaching that the United States is just stolen land from white people, and that there's the freedom and everything is granted the way that they're saying it. So an example would be somebody from Kazakhstan, somebody from the Middle East, somebody from the Caribbean coming to America and killing somebody. And they get deported or setting them on fire. You see? You see the difference? Somebody using a gun, you get deported. You let them justifiably get away with that because the land is a fucked land anyway. That's what you're pumping as white people by using certain words. Now, I'm a formal writer, okay? So I understand literature and certain writings a different way. And I always have an argument. Like if I read somebody's paper and if I write my paper, I always have an argument. Always. That's why I graduated as high as I did. Besides that, when everybody just realized what I just said, right? That they're teaching people that they could come intrude on it because it's the land of the natives and all this other stuff. You start to make it world war-ish and nuclear-ish because people are spiritual. So you have to realize if somebody's willing to strap a bomb on their chest and go die for their religion, and you haven't strapped a bomb on your chest and went to go die for the cross in Jesus Christ as you talk about, then you start to pull the word degree. The word degree starts to make you look at the earth a little different and strange. Because we all understand the word degree. And whoever made the English language or any language, once you understand the word degree and know what it means, right? We all become in sync with something majestic and mystique-ish. That's the federal government. I want you to know that.